In this video, we will show you how to replace your rear shock absorber on this GMC Acadia. This is part of your rear suspension, located behind your rear wheel. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we have to do is safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, we're going to continue on to removing all 6 of our 22mm lug nuts and then the wheel. Now with the wheel out of the way, the next thing we have to do is apply a little bit of support underneath the rear control arm. We don't need very much pressure here, we just want to support it. While holding pressure here, we're going to be looking for an 18mm headed bolt. You can see the head of it coming through the forward side of the control arm. That makes its way through the shock as well, and then out along the back side of the control arm. On the back side, there's an 18mm nut. There's our mounting nut from along the back side there. At this point, you may have to raise or lower the rear suspension to remove that mounting bolt. There's the bolt. Set that aside. We'll make our way following the shock up towards the top. To gain access to the upper mounting hardware, we're going to have to carefully dislodge the fender liner. The fender liner itself is held in place with a plastic push clip. To remove your push clip, you can use any small prying device. I'm using a trim tool. Just carefully start pulling out the center to unlock it, and then you should be able to remove the entire thing. A quick inspection and we'll set that aside. Go ahead and take hold of that fender liner, pull it aside, and that exposes the upper mounting hardware. We're going to remove the bracket and the rear shock at the same time and get it over to the bench. We'll use a 15mm on all 3 of these mounting bolts. Last one here. Now we can remove the rear shock. Let's get this over to the bench. On the bench, we're going to be focusing on removing the upper mount from along the rear shock. You'll find that this is held in place with a 16mm mounting nut. We'll go ahead and take this off of here, remove the upper mount, and remove this protective sheathing from along the outer portion of the shock. To remove this, it's easiest if you hold the very tip of the shaft with a 1/4-inch wrench and a 16mm ratchet wrench to go ahead and remove this mounting nut. We'll get our 16mm wrench on there, 1/4-inch wrench, and we can start turning this counterclockwise. There we are. Let's get that nut off of there. Remove the upper washer. Quick inspection of that. We are reusing it. Remove the upper shock mount. Once again, a quick inspection. Now we'll slide this off of here as well. Behind that area, you're also going to have your John's bumper. We're going to be reusing that. There it is, friend. Before we can install the brand new shock in the vehicle, it's important to make sure you put it down on the ground, in between your feet, holding it steady. We're going to press down on the upper plastic portion here. We'll remove our protective strap and the upper cap. Continuing from here, we're going to let this completely decompress, make its way all the way up. After that, we're going to recompress it and then allow it to make its way back up again. Repeat this process several times. It should get a little bit harder each time. I like to press down using the cap. It's a little bit easier on my hands. Okay, after you've completed this process several times, we can prepare to install this in the vehicle. Now we can get that over to the bench for the installation of the upper hardware here. We have our Jounce bumper. That's going to slide right over the shock. We'll slide that right down under the shaft area. Continuing from there, we also have our protective cover. That's going to slide down on here as well. After you have that on there, the next thing we have to do is install the upper mount. When installing the upper mount, you want to make sure you have it in the proper orientation. So we have these slots facing up. Continuing from there, we have our small washer. That's going to fit right on there. And now our brand new mounting nut. Go ahead and start them on there and snug them up. Continuing with our 16 millimeter ratchet wrench and our 1/4 inch. Okay, right there is bottomed out. Let's just make sure it's nice and tight. Remove your tools. Let's get this over to the vehicle. Back over at the vehicle, before we start our installation, it's a good idea to clean and inspect the mounting points, especially on the body of the vehicle. Double check, make sure nothing's rotted, weak, or damaged in any way. This looks fine. Let's proceed with our installation. Now we can install our rear shock. We'll start with the bottom, carefully bringing it down into the lower control arm. We'll rest it there, and now continue up along the top. Just swing this into position. Press it up against those studs that are coming out of the body and install all 3 of your mounting bolts. Once they're all started in there, torque them to 43 foot-pounds. While holding the shock in the upright position, we'll snug them. Let's protect this area. Reinstall our plastic push clip. When installing your plastic push clip, you want to drive the outer portion in first, bring it through the fender liner, into the body, lock it in with the center. A quick confirmation to make sure this is completely secure. Now let's follow the shock all the way down to the lower control arm. Now along the bottom, we're going to have to align the lower portion of the shock with the control arm here. You may have to push it forward or backward, and you may also have to raise or lower the lower control arm, all at the same time as trying to install the mounting bolt from the front towards the rear so we can install the mounting nut along the back side. With that slid through, hold the bolt head with your 18 millimeter wrench, and we're going to make our way towards the back side on that mounting nut. All right, I'm holding the bolt head. We're going to snug this up, and then we're going to torque it to 74 foot-pounds plus an additional 90 degrees, which is essentially a 1/4 turn. Now we'll continue on with a 1/4 turn here. It's close enough. Once everything's torqued as it should be, we'll remove support from underneath the rear control arm. One last quick inspection in the area and we can reinstall our wheel. Start on all 6 of your 22 millimeter lug nuts. We'll bottom them out. Get the wheel safely on the ground and torque these to 140 foot-pounds. The wheel back on the ground, we'll torque these in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Okay, friend, we finished the installation of one side of our rear shocks on our vehicle. The process for one side of the vehicle is the exact same thing as the other, and you always want to do these as a pair. Once you've completed that, go ahead and take your vehicle for a road test, listen for any funny noises, and it's a great idea to get yourself a four-wheel alignment. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.